This
taking care of this.
conference will now be recorded.
All right. Brian, you ready to do the roll?
Yes. Okay, we have Stephen Wolfel representing Mass DOT Secretary and CEO Tesla.
Here.
Arthur Frost, Mass DOT Highway Division.
Here.
Mary Jo Bohart, Fitchburg.
Here.
Do we have a representative from Gardner? I don't see one. Mark Piermarini, Leominster.
Here.
Guy Covacero, MRPC.
Here.
Bonnie Mahoney, Mart.
Here.
And do we have a representative from Subregion 1 from the communities of Athol, Hubbardston, Petersham, Phillipston, Royalston, Templeton, Winchendon? I don't think we do. Subregion 2 from the communities of Ashburnham, Ashby, Groton, Townsend, or Westminster. How about Subregion 3, Air, Harvard, Lunenburg, or Shirley?
Tim Kilhart, Harvard DPW.
And Subregion 4, Clinton, Lancaster, and Sterling. But we do have a quorum.
Hey, Brian. I'm the DPW director in Winchendon. Brian Croto.
Okay, Brian Croto. Yep. Now, as far as roll call goes, Brad, you might be able to clarify this. For Subregion 1, we have down Barbara Anderson, Julie Richard, or Tracy Murphy. I don't believe Brian Croto is included on that, so I don't know if he'd be included in the roll call.
Brian, have you been formally appointed in place of Tracy?
No, Tracy's still the main rep. Barbara
Okay.
Anderson's one of the selectmen, so I don't know if Barbara's usually the backup to Tracy or what.
Tracy's usually the designee for Barbara. So if you want to attend as the official designee, we'll just need the town to send us something to state that.
I'll see what the town manager wants to do.
Okay, great. So for today, we'll just be you won't be representing Subregion 1.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
But we still do have a quorum.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Brad. So we're on to agenda item 2, which is public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the MPO today?
The only comment I have, Steve, is Sarah Bradbury was joining the meeting and she lost her power. So she may try to rejoin at some point.
Arthur, you're not a member of the public. What are you doing?
I always have to speak.
All right, fine. All right. You can do what you will, whoever's doing the minutes, that now Arthur is speaking for all of the public, just so you know. So anyways, all right. So there are no other members of the public, though, other than Arthur Frost at the meeting today, right? Okay. All right, let's move on to agenda item 3, the meeting minutes. Brian, which meeting? It must be the meeting in April. Is it April?
Yes, that's April 21st meeting minutes.
Okay.
So they were included with the handouts.
Okay. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the minutes? And please remember to identify yourself and your affiliation, please.
So move, Bunny Mahoney, Mart.
I can second it. Arthur Frost.
Arthur? All right. Any changes or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, Brian, can you please read the roll?
Steve Wolfel, representing Secretary and CEO Tesla.
Yes.
Arthur Frost, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Mary Jo Bohart, Fitchburg.
Yes.
Mark Piermarini, Leominster.
Yes.
Guy Covacero, MRPC.
Yes.
Bonnie Mahoney, Mart.
Yes.
And Tim Kilhart, Subregion 3.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that. So we're on to agenda item 4, which is the federal fiscal year 2021 to 2025 tip. I believe it's a transit tip amendment. Brian?
Yep, George Snow is going to take care of this.
Okay, go ahead, George.
Thank you. Draft tip amendment number 3 applies to the FFY 2021 tip transit element. The proposed amendment reflects the addition of 1 new project as well as cost changes and adjustments to 6 other projects. At the MPO meeting held on April 21st, the MPO reviewed the proposed amendment and voted that it be released for a 21-day public review and comment period. The period commenced on Monday, April 26th and closed on Monday, May 17th. At the close of business on Monday, as of the close of business on Monday, May 17th, no comments have been received. At the May 12th MJTC meeting, the amendment was reviewed and the MJTC was asked to recommend to the MPO that it be endorsed by the MPO. It was the consensus of the MJTC to recommend to the MPO that the amendment be endorsed by the MPO at the May 19th MPO meeting. It is therefore being requested that the MPO make and pass a motion to endorse the final tip amendment number 3.
All right, can I get a motion and a second to approve this tip amendment?
So moved. Arthur Frost.
Guy Corbicero, second.
All right, any questions for either George or Bonnie? Not seeing any. Brian, please read the roll.
Stephen Wolfo, representing Secretary Tesler.
Yes.
Arthur Frost, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Mary Jo Bohart, Fitchburg.
Yes.
Mark Piermarini, Leominster. Mark Piermarini, Leominster.
Yes.
Guy Corbizero, MRPC Chair.
Yes.
Tony Mahoney, Mart.
Yes.
And Tim Kilhart, Subregion 3.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you, George. So we'll move on to agenda item 5 now, which is federal fiscal year 2022 to 2026 tip, the full tip. Brian, you doing this?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so last month's meeting, this group released the drafts 22 through 26 tip for a 21-day public comment period, which just ended this past Monday. It ran from April 26th to May 17th. And today we're looking for a vote to endorse the final tip document. But first, I'll review the comments that we've received. So we received comments from 2 sources. Those would be Mass DOT Office of Transportation Planning and Federal Highway Administration. And both those entities reviewed the draft document in detail and provided many comments ranging from just minor details and updates to the inclusion of additional information. So here is a summary of the comments, and this will be included in the final tip document into an appendix. All the comments that received, we incorporate into the document. So we've been working at sort of responding to these comments in the last month or so. And I grouped these comments into different categories. For example, the first one here from Mass DOT Office of Transportation Planning, I just categorized it as completeness. And this is just more or less minor edits that they've suggested and pointed out, and we've noted those and made those changes in the final document. Comment 2, again from Mass DOT. This is one of the more significant comments that we've had in the tip this year, and both DOT and Federal Highway pointed this out. And it's in regards to a section we've included this year, which we placed each project funded into a specific category, and we've attempted to identify sort of where our funds are going and categorize each project as either road maintenance, safety improvements, climate change and environmental improvements. So this allows us to look at where the investments are being made. However, it's kind of imperfect because the problem is that most of these projects that we fund have multiple improvements to each category. So the example that we used in the report is the Air Road project in Harvard. It's really was implemented as a road maintenance project. It's deteriorating condition, and so we categorize it as a road maintenance project. However, there's a lot of bike and ped improvements in the project. There are a number of drainage improvements, so that could be climate change and environment category. So it's an imperfect method of sort of siphoning each project into a certain category. So each agency, Federal Highway and Mass DOT, asked us to sort of explore ways which we could do that. And Mass DOT specifically mentioned looking at the funding source. As an example, congestion mitigation air quality funds could be considered either bike and ped facilities improvements or climate change and environment improvement categories. So that's something that we were going to attempt to do. So we felt this really is an exercise for the development of our RTP coming up. And these categories originally stem from categories we set in the 2020 RTP. So what we'll be doing is looking into coordinating with both Mass DOT and Federal Highway, as well as probably our Joint Transportation Committee, and determining where exactly, how much funding we think is made in safety improvements as opposed to road repairs and bike and ped repairs, etc. So that's something that we'll be doing with the upcoming development of the RTP, and we'll be including that in future tips as well. As I mentioned, that's sort of one of the more major comments made by both Mass DOT and Federal Highway. Comment number 3, in regards to performance measures, DOT has asked us to include information on MART's Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, which we've done. They also mention the performance measures that we included in the tip, which we originally set in the 2020 RTP. Our response to that is we'll be reviewing these performance measures in the coming months and in the next year or so with the MMPO and the JTC and in-house as well as we prepare for the RTP update. Comment 4 from Mass DOT in regards to the project listing. They're asking us to include some additional information, and that information was added, so we have that in the final document. And comment 5, impact analysis. They reference items in the greenhouse gas certification and the Title VI and environmental justice sections that would benefit the narrative of those sections, and we've made their changes and added some additions as well. In comment 7 from Federal Highway Administration, this is just some minor edits, and all these minor edits were made. And comment 8, Federal Highway, in regards to performance measures, they've let us know that we've included some outdated data in this section, and we've updated that data and included in the final. And finally, from Federal Highway, comment 9. This is the same comment more or less as DOT had, as it pertained to the categorizations. I know I'm saying that wrong. Categories of projects. In the RTP priorities, and again, they suggested that we explore different ways of breaking down project costs and different categories based on investments. So again, that's something that we'll look forward to doing the next year or so as we update the RTP. So that's it for the comments that we received on the document. Nothing really too major that we had to change, and all the project prioritized lists and everything like that were the same. So no major changes there. If there's any questions on these comments, I can attempt to answer them today. Otherwise, again, like I mentioned, we're looking for a vote to endorse the final tip document.
All right, can I get a motion a second to approve the full tip with both the highway and transit elements? And I'll open up to any questions for Brian.
So
Guy
moved, Tim Harvard.
Corbettaro, I move to endorse the tip. If that's what you need.
Yep, Guy. Is there a second?
Second, Tim Kilhart, Harvard.
All right, thanks, Tim. Any questions for Brian? Arthur?
I just have one comment. I know last year in your tip that you released, you totaled up the region's targets and the subcategories of how much funding was spent in each category. Is that possible to do when you do the final release of this?
Yeah, that's what we did. The problem that we, I guess, ran into is choosing categories for projects. So the example I gave is Harvard Air Road. It's like a $10 million project, which is, you know, roughly like a quarter of our total tip funding. We categorize that as a road maintenance project. The problem is it really includes a lot of different aspects of safety improvements and things like that. So what we're going to have to do moving forward is when we do this type of analysis is break projects down even further and possibly even get into like almost like an itemized type of thing with the construction itself and sort of allocate different funding to different categories.
Could,
All right, good.
well, and I wasn't concerned with the different categories as much as just last year you had totaled what the project region was spending in each fiscal year, and I just found it very helpful looking at projects just to know what was left on the table. You know, how much is remaining when you have, you know, if there's such a thing as a price cost change, or at least, you know, it's a good snapshot to know, kind of track against your target where you stand.
Yeah, so the target numbers are all portrayed within the listings, and this year we really didn't leave a lot on the table, thankfully, and hopefully nothing changes too much where we go over our target. But yeah, all that information is also included within the document itself.
Okay.
All right, anyone else? All right, seeing no other hands, Brian, can you read the roll, please?
Stephen Wolfel, Mass DOT.
Yes.
Arthur Frost, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Mary Jo Bohart, Fitchburg.
Yes.
Mark Piermarini, Leominster.
Yes.
Guy Corbizero, MRPC.
Yes.
Bonnie Mahoney, Mart.
Yes.
And Tim Kilhart, Subregion 3.
Yes.
Excuse me, Steve. I just want to point out that
All right.
normally, I mean,
Thank you, everyone. I wasn't sure if you were going to say anything, Brian. So, all right.
excuse me, Steve, may I say something? I just want to let people know that normally we have a signature page for everybody
Yeah,
to
good.
sign. Hello?
I can hear you, Brad.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm
Because of the COVID restrictions.
People having trouble here.
Yeah, Steve, I don't know if you can hear me, but Brad's attempting to speak, and it looks like I can see your microphone is on, but we can't really hear you.
Okay.
All right, so I just wanted to reiterate that normally we have the signatories sign the endorsement page, but because of the COVID restrictions, we're just having one signature by the chair based upon the formal vote of the full MPO. So I just wanted to tell everybody and remind them of that fact. So there'll only be one signature on the page, but it does state it reflects the vote of the entire MPO.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Can you guys, everyone hear me? I know last meeting we had problems with my connections. I'm trying something different, but can people hear me?
I
Yep,
can
I
hear
can
you
hear you.
fine now, yeah.
Okay. I thought it was me. Sorry, Brad. I wasn't trying to not let you speak. I just wasn't sure if my thing was on the fritz again.
That's okay, no problem.
So we're on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item 6, which is review and discussion of the draft UPW for endorsement. So go ahead, Brad.
Actually, Sherry's gonna take care of this one too.
Oh, Sherry.
Yep, this one is for the Unified Planning Work Program. It'll be, we also had the comment period ending on Monday along with the tip. And we received 2 sets of comments. One is from MassDOT and the other was from Federal Highway. We actually had them broken down originally, like the tip, into different types of categories. But when we received the Federal Highway comments on, I believe it was Friday, it seemed to make it a little bit easier to follow with having them be in order. So we reversed it, and now it's just more of a longer comment section in the table that shows it more in an orderly fashion, so you can follow it along with the document. Made it a little bit easier to follow. But so a lot of these are based off of similar, minor edits. But the ones that are more standout that I wanted to mention might take, a little bit more efforts and changes. So the first one would be on page, let's see, it's like the second comment down where it asks to explain the environmental justice categories and update the table. So we had it originally just stating which projects lied within it in a particular environmental justice category, didn't specify which ones. So I actually have our GIS staff currently updating that, where we can say whether it's, minority populations or low-income populations, which I think would be a little bit more helpful. So we're updating that table currently. And let's see, the next one involved task 2.1, which is the regional demographics and model task. That was basically indicating if we could include anything that might be COVID related. So some examples might be, whether the traffic volumes or crashes have been changed since the pandemic has started. Most places are experiencing reduction of traffic volumes. So we might want to elaborate a little bit more on that, at least, and especially within the task itself, and see if there's any kind of permanent changes or if this is going to go back to normal now that things are starting to open back up. The next one was 2.6, which is the regional transportation update. And this is in regards to our public outreach efforts. We were asked to reach out to MassDOT's Office of Diversity and Civil Rights to help us with implementation of a number of best practices for our public outreach. And this could also really key in on our virtual public involvement as part of that process. That's starting to become the norm nowadays. And the virtual type of public outreach was mentioned a couple of times. So that's something that we will elaborate more on as we are doing more of that type of outreach. The following 2 from MassDOT was task 3.5, which is our intersection analysis task. They had asked that we identify, how these particular studies would benefit those intersections in those communities. So we can talk about how they were selected and why they were selected, what the process was, and most of it was outreach from our communities. They had asked for particular projects to be analyzed, so we will mention that more so in the task write-up. As for task 4.2, which is a transit task, they were saying that it's a little bit broad, and they want to know more about how the task will involve transit, particularly transit planning. So we will have George Kahali is actually out on vacation, so he's the one who tends to deal with the transit tasks, all of the 4 tasks with the number 4 in them. So we will work with him when he returns, which I believe is going to be next week, so we can hopefully hash out a little bit more details in the transit task, because that was also mentioned from Federal Highway as well. So moving to the Federal Highway comments, the first one was a overall document, make sure that it's 508 compliant. And for those who are unaware of the 508, it's Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act that requires all data.
Sherry, you just went on mute.
It's weird. Okay. I have no idea how that happened. But anyway, so I don't know. Did you catch what the 508 was? No. Brian, give me a thumbs up. Did you hear that part?
That's the last
No, we
part
didn't
we
hear
heard.
Okay, the whole thing?
Partially heard it, yes.
Okay, so we just need to make sure that the document meets accessibility requirements. So if you're in Microsoft Word, it's a quick, simple review, accessibility click, and it should show you where you're not being compliant. And most of the issues are with the pictures and tables. So if a person who is visually impaired, we're looking at the document with a special software that tells them what's in it, they wouldn't be able to tell them what the table or the picture was of. So that's something we would just have to include some alternate text for the pictures and tables in particular. For task 1.3, which is the public participation, again, highlighting the virtual public involvement process, very similar to what MassDOT had mentioned, which we will include. And then the task 2.5, which is performance measures. They wanted to make sure that we're providing updated work on this particular task based off of the 2020 mid-performance review. So throughout the whole document, I think we need to make sure that we are updating what we're currently working on and making sure that's as up to date as possible for this document. So we'll be going through all of the tasks that may overlap a bit with our current program year and mentioning where we're at for all of those in a little bit more detail. For task 3.4, which is community trail planning, they're just Sterling and Winchendon were called out specifically in this task for assistance because they requested it in a formal letter in the beginning of the UPWP process. So they were just wondering, we call them out in the task write-up, but it's meant to be a regional analysis overall. So we just need to be a little bit more clear about why we have called them out or what we'll be doing if it's a regional project or if it's just specific to Sterling and Winchendon, which it's regional project. We're just focusing a bit more on those two communities. So for task 3.5, intersection analysis, they wanted just a quick title change within there from multimodal planning activities to transit planning activities so that it can better reflect what we will actually be doing in that task. Again, task 4.1, which is the transportation equity and public involvement. There seemed to be a little bit of an overlap with some of the tasks that were mentioned in section 1 of the tasks, which were like public participation and our Title 6 and environmental justice stuff. And they wanted to make sure that it was more transit based. So we need to go back and specify that these particular tasks are focused on transit. So it does make them somewhat different from the other tasks that we had mentioned, because they did seem very similar. So overall, the comments had a couple of general themes, and those were referencing any type of COVID-related impacts, virtual public outreach efforts, and how we are going to utilize those moving forward, accessibility throughout the document, which was a big one, and include updates from the current program year, and then elaborate on those specific transit tasks to make it known that those are more focused on transit development, transit planning. So overall, that's what we have for that. And we have gone through and updated most of them. The transit ones, we are waiting for George to return. And then some of the accessibility things might take a couple extra days to go through. We want to make sure we get that right.
All right. So can I get a motion second to endorse CPWP with the changes already made, in including the ones that Sherry will be made when George is back, and the accessibility ones before it goes out as a final draft to the public?
So moved, Arthur Frost.
And seconded, Corbacero.
All right, any questions for Sherry?
Okay, and I'll go.
Brian, you want to do the roll?
Stephen Wolfel, representing Secretary Tesler.
Yes.
Hold on one minute.
Martha Frost, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Mark Piermarini, Leominster.
Yes.
Guy Corbacero, MRPC.
Yes.
Bonnie Mahoney, Mart.
Yes.
And Tim Kilhart, Subregion 3.
Yes.
Okay, looks like it
All right.
carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Sherry. Brian, can you put up the agenda again so we can move to the next item, please? So the next item agenda, we're up to agenda item 7, which is updates. The first one's from Arthur.
All right. I'm just working down the 2021 tip, and we've already advertised 607431, which is Westminster resurfacing related work on Route 140. That was advertised in January, on January 2nd. Then the next one is 608857, Lunenburg Bridge Rehab, Route 2A over Pearl Hill Brook. And that project was advertised in December 5th, 2020. Then we have 608888, which is Gardner and related work on Pearson Boulevard. And that one is scheduled to be advertised in September, and we're at the 25-75% design stage. And then we have, and we'll make the date. The last submission is due in shortly, and then the right-of-way cert on that. And then we have the Gardner 608891, which is resurfacing and rumble strip on Route 140. And that's to be advertised later this month. So that's what I have for Montachusett updates.
Any questions for Arthur? All right, I think you're off the hook, Arthur. No questions. Thank you. Next update is from Transit. Bonnie, you got anything? Bonnie, I think you're muted.
Yep, I just realized that. Sorry about that. Just like you guys are going under reconstruction, Mart has a bunch of construction going on at our facilities right now. We're about to displace 40 drivers because we're going to repave their parking lot and put up new fencing all around Mart's facility. We realized a couple weeks ago that the fence that kind of goes through the woods on the edge of our property was taken down by a couple of fallen trees, and we had some stolen catalytic converters. So we're putting up more fencing than we were originally going to do. So that's going on next week. We've been blasting and painting the inside of our bus bays. It looks so nice. I'm so excited because if anybody's been inside of our bus bays, they were looking like 1987. So and we're also very excited because today we started installing our automatic passenger counters and upgraded Where's My Bus, all the equipment to go into our buses. So the first few buses were done today, and over the next 7 to 8 days, we'll be equipping the rest of our fixed route fleet. So 34 buses are being done this week, and then when we get our 16 low floor cutaways in mid-July, we will be outfitting those. So I'm very excited about that. So we're also upgrading our website. We just got the RFP back. It's Matrix has to go back to procurement this week. So that'll be incorporating the new Where's My Bus features into that. So that's all we have for now.
Any questions for Bonnie? I don't see any. Laura, do you have your hand up? Actually, it just looks like your microphone's on. All right. Updates from the JTC.
Just a couple of items. The MJTC has begun the selection process for electing new officers. A nominating committee was formed at the last meeting. They'll present a slate at the upcoming June meeting, and the election will then take place at the following meeting after that in July. Staff also met with the town of Athol to introduce them to our ADA public right-of-way survey data collection app. The virtual meeting with town officials was held on May 5th. The meeting was set up to provide some basic training on the content of the app and how to operate it. The agenda included a demo of the app and an overview of the 4 app surveys, one for sidewalk, curb ramp, crosswalk, and accessible pedestrian signal facilities. A second community virtual meeting is set for the town of Air. That's going to be tomorrow on May 20th. And we plan on presenting this app and this presentation to the MJTC at a future meeting. And then finally, we have an announcement from MassDOT. It's posted also on our website regarding this year's capital investment plan, virtual public meetings. MassDOT is currently developing a 1-year maintenance effort for the CIP that guides how they prioritize and fund local and statewide transportation projects. The CIP determines funding for new buses, trains, rail expansion, transit, paratransit, accessibility upgrades, roadway improvements, municipal projects, the MBTA, and regional airports and transit authorities. Community input can help inform project design and helps MassDOT understand the level of community support for proposed projects, ensuring that MassDOT's investments align with the needs and priorities of all Massachusetts residents. Comments on the CIP must be received by June 7th, 2021. This year's CIP meeting for the Central Mass and Montachusett region is set for May 27th at 6 p.m. We have a handout that's available, but also if you are looking to attend the meeting and get the contact information, you can do so through our news and announcements section of our MRPC website, mrpc.org. That briefly is all I have for the MJTC.
Anyone have any questions for Brad? Don't see anyone. So next update is from the Regional Planning Commission. Guy, you got some stuff?
Yes, I do. In keeping with the conversation beginning at the meeting, as far as office management, in keeping with the loosening of restrictions, I've already mentioned this, as of May 1st, all employees were welcome to come back to the office. They weren't required. But new is the MRPC offices, even though they will remain closed to the public, local officials are allowed now to visit with employees of the organization and on an appointment basis and only in small groups. On July 12th, all employees are required now to work in the office with the exception of a handful of part-time planners and interns. And most staff still will work remotely while some are working in the office now. Going into comprehensive planning, we have a bunch of projects going on. A few of them are update of the region's 2019 Community Economic Development Strategy, documenting the downward trends in economy catalyzed by the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic and related health and economic crises. Another program, state grant funded program for the MRPC's delivery of district local technical assistance program to communities in the Montachusett region. MRPC will be working on 17 DLTA projects this calendar year, which is known as Program Year 14 in regards to the DLTA. All funding under the Brownfield Assessment Program has been committed, and funds are expected to be expended within 2 years of the 3-year grant program, but MRPC will pursue another EPA Brownfield site assessment grant this winter. MRPC will complete 2 community health assessments for Hayward Hospital and Health Alliance Hospital by September 30th, 21. The reports will include analysis of the new health threat known as COVID-19 and social determinants. Okay. Under Community and Economic Development Division, highlights of this department, you have just one, the administration continues of a CBDG CV funded small business grant and food bank assistance program for Lunenburg, Royalston, Shirley, Townsend, and Westminster. And that completes my report.
All right, any questions for Guy? All right, so we got to go back to Highway Division updates. I forgot, I saw Laura had her microphone on, but I didn't hear. So Laura, why don't you go ahead? Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you, Steve. I just wanted to, I just have a very brief update. There are not any TIP program updates. It's the same as last MPO meeting. So I would have you refer to those minutes, but I was going to mention in terms of construction, the Athol Phillipston resurfacing and related work on Route 2. I do have a construction update. The nighttime milling continues. Daytime paving began last week and will continue for the next month or so. The original completion date is August 22nd of this year, and it's, I think they're going to try to achieve that. So for those of you who are on Route 2, you'll know what's happening in the construction world. That's all I have.
All right, anyone have any questions for Laura? All right, sorry about that, Laura, again. All right, so we're done with our updates. We're on to agenda item 8, which is administrative matters. Next MPO meeting, Brad?
That is set for June 16th at 1 p.m.
All right, so please try to have that in your calendars to make it. Last agenda item is adjournment. Can I get a motion and second to adjourn, please?
So
So
moved.
moved, Guy Corbett.
Second, Tim Harvard.
Arthur, were you second? Oh, Tim was. Okay. All right. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. And,
All right.
all right. So thank you, everyone. We got through all of our certification documents today. Be safe, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.